I'm Cody Stoots. Welcome into the channel. Let's talk some Texans, and let's talk about the 30-6 victory by the Houston Texans over the Pittsburgh Steelers, getting their second win in a row and their first home win of the season, their first home win in a long time after a winless 2022 at home. Man, was that a fun one to watch if you're a Texans fan, and it played out in a couple of ways like we talked about here on the channel. Kenny Pickett wasn't very good. The Texans defense took advantage of it, but I want to focus on four specific things from this game that really feels like it's the reason the Texans won this game. And if these things continue to show up over the course of a season, the Texans have something very exciting and very interesting on their hands. It'll start with the offense and the conversation around that, how the defense took care of business in the first half and set themselves up for success in the second half. A couple of moments that just show you this is a different Texans team and, well, number 7 at the helm. We'll talk about that. Appreciate a thumbs up on the video. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. A ton of Texans content comes your way on this channel. Let's start with that offense. This was a challenging opponent for the Houston Texans offense. This is a really solid Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and we heard about it all week long, and we talked about it all week long. The offensive line was not going to have Laramie Tunsil, and heck, it wasn't even going to have Josh Jones. And when you really think about the situation, they were going to their fourth left tackle because Tunsil's the starter. George Fant's actually here to be the backup left tackle. He's the swing tackle, but he's playing right tackle right now. So then Josh Jones is down. He can't play. Well, that's 3. So Austin Deculus and Jaron Christian play left tackle for the Texans on Sunday. And they, along with their 4 teammates on the offensive line, took care of business yet again. We talked about them being unsung heroes last week. We made sure to sing their praises. Well, we're going to sing their praises again this week. They took care of business. No sacks allowed for the second week in a row from this offensive line, and they had the rushing attack going. They were pushing guys out of the way. They were moving the piles. They were moving the line of scrimmage. Now, Dameon Pierce does a lot of that himself, but it's not just the offensive line I want to focus on. The totality of the offense, the whole way that they operated, the way that Bobby Slowick built this thing this week to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was really, really impressive. I think one that really jumps off the page to me is early on in the game, T.J. Watt dropped back and didn't rush immediately. And the next thing you know, Dameon Pierce and a horde of blockers were coming his way, and Pierce was going down the field after a screen pass. The ability to quickly get the ball to the running backs on screen passes, some of the quick passes that C.J. Stroud put together, this offense was balling. Yeah, they stalled out a couple times. You had to settle for a field goal here or there, but they continuously put pressure on this Steelers defense, and they handled what the Steelers do really well. They handled those 2 pass rushers really, really well. Alex Highsmith and T.J. Watt did not have huge days like most of us expected them to. In fact, T.J. Watt finished the day with 2 tackles and 1 quarterback hurry. Now, 1 quarterback hit. Now, he did hurry C.J. Stroud and force him to throw that 1 pass that was called intentional grounding and set the Texans back in a weird spot. The punter didn't do a great job recovering from that. But the way the offense was built to attack those 2 edge rushers, to really get after the Steelers, to trust the physicality of this rushing attack, to trust that it was going to get going, to attack the edges when they needed to attack the edges in the running attack with Pierce and sometimes with Tank Dell on those sweeps. I really enjoyed watching Bobby Slowick dial it up, get into his bag of tricks, and really just stay the course. Stuff started to kind of, got herky-jerky at one point. You're settling for field goals. They didn't really change a whole lot. They just kept putting points on the board and kept putting pressure on a Steelers team that their offensive coordinator admitted to the TV broadcast is not built to come back from a large deficit. That was a big topic of conversation for the Pittsburgh people on social media as that comment was made to the TV people, and they relayed it to all of America who are watching this game. Yeah, the Steelers aren't built to come back from a big deficit. Well, the Texans put a big deficit on them, and what do you know? The Steelers not built to come back from that big deficit. So the offense taking care of business, and then even after the second half when Pittsburgh started to put some points on the board. The Texans went out there and really finished off. When you get them down, you bury another team. That's what good teams can do on a regular basis, and the Texans did that on Sunday with the way that they operated their offense. Kudos to Bobby Slowick. Kudos to those offensive linemen who were much maligned throughout the week. They were a big topic of conversation. And heck, as good as they played last week, even I thought TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, some of the ways the Steelers attack opposing teams are going to get to CJ Stroud a couple of times. There was a pressure here or there, a QB knockdown here or there, but Stroud got back up and there were no sacks yet again. Good job by the offense and an excellent offensive game plan put together by Bobby Slowick and executed by the Houston Texans. Now, we'd be remiss if we gave the offense flowers and we didn't give the defense a ton of flowers for what occurred in the first half. An absolutely dominating performance, and that's what good to average to great defenses will do to quarterbacks who aren't very good. Look, Kenny Pickett's not a very good quarterback, and this is a really bad offense that the Pittsburgh Steelers have right now. But the Texans made it a bad offense. They put Kenny Pickett in position to throw the football where he just doesn't do very well. They made him try to convert 2nd and long, 3rd and long on a regular basis in that first half. And heck, even when the Steelers felt like they could take a shot, Steven Nelson took care of his business, got himself an interception, and the Texans were rolling again on offense right after that. It was a really, really impressive first half by this defense. And even in the second half, as the Steelers started to move the football a little bit, the Texans were able to hold them to field goals. I can't tell you how much it really calmed me down to see the field goal unit for the Steelers run out there and to not see the Steelers be in a situation to put some points on the board, put some pressure on the Texans. And we've seen the Texans of the past go and just kind of crumble when pressure gets put on them. But I think back to how they were able to force a couple of field goals, and then ultimately they put a lot of pressure on the Steelers. They couldn't convert that 4th and 1. It was a horrible play call by the Steelers, but the Texans took advantage of it, got after Kenny Pickett, actually knocked him out of the game with the knee injury. And so really solid performance from the defense overall. Great in the first half, solid in the second half. So totality will go really good for this defense. Very good performance for this defense. Steven Nelson is playing the best football of his career. He's awesome. He's one of the best players on this team. He gets the interception. It was a great job by him. It's fun to watch the trial by fire of Henry To'oTo'o. There are some plays where Henry To'oTo'o, like even I can see that Henry To'oTo'o messed up. And then there are some plays where Henry To'oTo'o is in there, he's smacking the running back 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, or he ends up in coverage on George Pickens and he knocks the ball away in the end zone. Like, that's not supposed to happen when you put a rookie linebacker on a wide receiver of George Pickens' caliber, but that's what happened when the Houston Texans ended up in that situation. Rookie linebacker 1, George Pickens 0 in that equation. And in the first half, I felt like this was definitely setting the tone and a great sign for the Texans. They had one tackle for a loss. One tackle for a loss the previous 2 weeks. In the first half, they quadrupled that. They had 4 tackles for a loss in the first half against the Pittsburgh Steelers. D'Amico Ryans explained it as moving the line of scrimmage to where they wanted it to be, and that was a really good job by the defense. A fantastic performance in the first half, a really good one in the second half, and I think we settled on a very good day for the defense overall. And my favorite part about that is D'Amico Ryans talked about it. Will Anderson even talked about it. There's room for improvement. They feel like they can do more on defense. That's an exciting thought because it was a very, very good defensive day for the Texans. Now, a couple of things in this game that jumped off the page that really I'm attributing past not repeating itself is essentially what I'm getting at. And it's the first drive of the Texans on offense, and they're going down the field, and CJ Stroud scores, rushing touchdown. We're all freaking out, and it's a review. And you're like, well, it's going to get brought back. And so it was brought back, and they're on the 1 yard line, and there's a penalty. And you're like, come on. Penalty wipes off a touchdown. And then there's another penalty. that wipes off a touchdown. And you're like, oh, or there's a penalty that moves them back 5 yards. Then there's a penalty that wipes off the touchdown. So a review wipes off one touchdown. A penalty wipes off another one. And it's 1st and 10. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, they're going to have to settle for a field goal. And basically every previous version of the Texans over the past decade would have ended up settling for a field goal there. Well, on 2nd down, they attacked the end zone. They attacked the Steelers' defense, drew the pass interference call, and then ran the ball on 1st and 2 from the 2, and then hurried up, got C.J. Stroud in position. He threw it to Nico Collins over the middle, touchdown. That's a huge element of growth for a young offense, and that's just something that good teams can do. You can overcome penalties if you are a good football team, and you can do it on a regular basis. Just think back to how many times one simple penalty would have sunk previous iterations of the Houston Texans, and heck, in the first couple of weeks, one penalty kind of sunk the team a little bit here or there. They got not just one, but 2 penalties, and then they were able to turn it into 6 anyway. That's a great job of growth by the Texans offense, and that gives you trust in the Texans offense to leave them out there to go attack the end zone. They don't make a lot of mistakes with the football in the air, so if you want to throw and attack one of the aggressive defenders like Minka Fitzpatrick and get a pass interference so you get the ball on the 2-yard line, you can do that. It's a really, really good sign of the growth and development of this offense of the Houston Texans to overcome those 2 penalties and the review going against them and still put it in the end zone on a score that stayed on the scoreboard. And then we talked a little bit about it with the second half, but the bend but don't break nature of the Texans defense. Just small things in the past that would have been huge things for the Texans that stay small things for the Texans. You know, once offenses got going against the Texans in the past, it felt like they never really stopped. Well, the Steelers got going. Najee Harris had a couple of nice plays there to start the second half, and I thought to myself, okay, we're going to put points on the board. Is it going to be 7 or is it going to be 3? Is this defense going to take care of business? And DeMeco Ryans had specifically mentioned red zone defense is something that they must do a better job at handling as a team. Well, wouldn't you know, red zone defense as a team much better in this performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They forced those 2 field goals. And again, that's just something that in the past with previous incarnations of the Texans that would have just got out of hand. Maybe it's 10 points. Maybe it's 14 points at that point allowed in previous incarnations. Not with this one. Bend don't break right there on defense after you had the fantastic first half, and it looked like the Steelers figured out a small thing here or there to move the football. And then what did they do after they allowed those field goals? They took care of business and really just shut the Steelers down from that moment on. And it was a really impressive performance by the defense. And those particular moments, the bend don't break nature of the defense there in the second half, and that very first offensive drive where the Texans actually scored 3 times and then only got to keep one of them on the scoreboard. Those are 2 moments that just haven't happened in recent Houston Texans memory. And the last element that just shows you that there's something going on with this Texans team that's got a big smile on most Texans fans' faces is C.J. Stroud. My goodness, isn't he masterful? Isn't it fun to watch him work? The quick passing game, the trust that he has in those wide receivers. He trusts those offensive linemen. Early on, when he saw an opening, he took off for a big rush, used his legs a little bit. He mentioned after the game that he could have used his legs a little bit more in a couple of spots to help out the offense, but he, yet again, put together an impressive performance. And this season was very much about steps forward for C.J. Stroud, and he has taken a step forward, it feels like, each and every week. Even some of the missed throws this week, the moments that they showed up or the explanations for them, you feel good about the next time C.J. Stroud goes to make that play. The next time C.J. Stroud goes to make that throw, you feel really good about the chances of that going the Texans' way after, just a small tweak here or there. It didn't go their way on Sunday. It'll go their way the next time. He gives the Texans such a solid base as a team. And there's going to be a bad week coming up here or there. I don't know when it's going to show up. There's going to be a bad week, and the team will have to pick them up. But for the most part, he picks the team up on a lot of this stuff, makes incredible plays. That throw to Nico Collins to finish things off, that was great. I liked the one play where it was almost an immediate catch and throw right over to, I think it was Tank Dell, or maybe it was Nico Collins on the right side to get a first down. And CJ Stroud was dealing yet again. And you can look around the National Football League. You can look around and see when teams don't have their guy, when teams don't trust their quarterback, when teams don't have a talented guy, it keeps them from achieving what they're capable of achieving as a team. It puts a very hard ceiling in place. And I think to the opponent that the Texans faced on Sunday, the Pittsburgh Steelers, their quarterback play is atrocious. Right now, they've got a very bad quarterback that is their franchise guy that they've invested in. They've built things around, and it just doesn't look very good on a regular basis for Kenny Pickett. It does look very good on a regular basis for C.J. Stroud, and he remains one of the more impressive stories early on in the NFL, and certainly the most impressive rookie story here in the NFL. Maybe that kid in L.A. who's doing the Cooper Kupp type stuff is pretty impressive, but quarterback's harder than wide receiver, especially wide receiver in Sean McVay's offense. So most impressive rookie story, C.J. Stroud, and he continues to impress as the quarterback, the leader, and the locomotive for this Houston Texans team. What stood out to you? What jumped off the page to you? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. The comment section, always live, always interacting there. On your way to the comment section, throw a thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications for the channel so you never miss when we go live here on the channel. And, of course, check out Houston Football, where I do all my writing about the Houston Texans. It is free to sign up. You can be a free subscriber. Paid subscribers start at just $7 a month, and you get everything on the site. You get my 11 observations plus from game days. You'll get the one day later where we break down in detail C.J. Stroud's performance and other things about the game. There's so much on Houston Football. I really enjoy writing about this team, and I certainly enjoy talking about this team here on the YouTube page, and I appreciate you watching the video today. Plenty more to come on the page. Thank you for supporting, and I can't wait till we talk Texans again soon.